Sal Pal Friday. ESPN Sal Paolantonio set to join us as he does each week at this time. Sal Pal's appearance brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. This season, the pregame starts at Dunkin'. DD Perks members score a $1 medium hot or iced coffee on Eagle game day. So head to Dunkin' for your kickoff before kickoff. Excludes cold brew, limit 1 per guest per visit. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. And, of course, Sal Paolantonio here on the Sports Bash as we get into another edition of Sal Pal Friday. Sal, welcome back. How are you, my friend?
Mike Gill, I'll tell you what, it's always a pleasure to join your show on Friday at 3 o'clock.
Well, it's almost like a rite of passage now. This is a tradition like no other. It's like the Masters here, Sal Pal Fridays. And we got a lot to
dive into. We've been doing this
into.
about a half a decade now, right?
I believe so.
5 straight. I think this is our 5th year together, correct?
I believe so. And, this one here, a lot of times if the Eagles were playing the Lions at home early in the season, we'd kind of be like, stretching for things to look for here. But this one's turning into kind of an intriguing matchup. And I got to start off with all these rumors surrounding Jalen Ramsey and the Eagles. And, is there a lot of unnecessary noise going on at the NovaCare with injuries and rumors?
Well, where do you want to start, brother? Let's go.
All right, let's go with the Ramsey stuff first, since he played last night, and everybody wants to know, was that his last game in Jacksonville, and are the Eagles legitimately in the conversation?
The Eagles are definitely in the conversation, legitimately, 1,000%. There's no question. Have they had extensive talks with the Jaguars? I don't know. Have they done their due diligence? Have they done their homework? Mr. Ramsey, absolutely they have. They were in the Minkah Fitzpatrick mix, but it proved too rich for them for a safety. Jalen Ramsey is a different player. I mean, he's a potential shutdown corner. I use that word potential carefully because he's had some up and down games. He did not have a great game last night. I thought, after looking at the film, I thought he was good, not great.
Yeah.
But you put him with that defensive line in Jacksonville. You have something. And so your first question is he going to be a Jacksonville Jaguar by the end of the weekend? And the answer to that is I don't know. I would say this, and this is my informed speculation based on a lot of conversations with people around the league. I think there's room to make peace with Jalen Ramsey and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think there's room to make peace. I think they're not sure about paying him, and that could be an issue. They're not sure about getting the right return on a trade. That could be an issue. But the bigger issue is this. That division is ripe for the taking.
Yeah.
If Minshew is going to play like that, and the defense is going to play like that, and they can beat the Titans and the Colts, and they can beat the Texans, and they can win their division, then I don't know why you would trade Jalen Ramsey. I think cooler heads have got to prevail here. And as far as Ramsey's concerned, is he going to go to a place where he's going to get paid? So the teams that are out there that are sort of being talked about are Eagles. Eagles have definitely done their homework on Jalen Ramsey. There's no question. Kansas City, Seattle. Those are the 3 main teams that I hear. Could there be others? Yes.
Well, you mentioned Ramsey and the defensive line in Jacksonville. The Eagles only have 2 sacks. They've lost Jackson. They've lost Jernigan. Is that area, that position, that defensive front, which we all thought was a strength, is it now something to keep an eye on?
Right. So you're not going to just pry loose a number 1 defensive tackle, just not available. So if you can get Ramsey, that's going to help your defensive front, you would assume, because they go hand in hand. And the truth is that the defensive line has not been as productive as you want. The 2 sacks are Jernigan and Sendejo. Jernigan's gone. Sendejo's a safety. So They got to get more production from their defensive front. There's no question, whether you get Jalen Rose or not.
Production. Where do they get it this weekend? Jackson out. We don't know about Jeffrey. Goddard did practice. The running game failed to rush for even 50 yards last week. That hasn't happened since 2015. So where do they get production on offense this week?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. There's no doubt about it, Mike Gill. The big thing is Goddard, right? They run the ball so much better when two tight ends are on the field, when Goddard is on the field. No question about that. And you got to remember, basically, the first two games were preseason games because a lot of the starters didn't play in the preseason. Mm-hmm. Carson had to iron out his rust. Jason Peters hardly played. Brandon Brooks hardly played at all. I don't think he even played one snap in the preseason. So, they've had a lot of guys that were just working things out. People want a panic after the loss in Atlanta. I'm not panicking. This is exactly, if you remember, how I said the games would go. They would struggle early against Washington, and then they would not cover, but they would beat Washington. I said that. Yeah. And I said they would lose to Atlanta. I had Atlanta as one of their losses this year. I have two of the first four games as losses. They're not going to beat Green Bay in Green Bay. It's not going to happen.
Well, then this
is a game that they got to have. They got to have this.
Yeah.
So you look at last week, right, Mike? The defense forced 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions. Right. They had limited Atlanta's defense to just an offense just to 3 for 10 on third downs. 3 for 10. They held the Falcons to just 57 rushing yards. They recorded 3+ interceptions in a single game for the first time since 2017. The defense did not overall play poorly. It played well enough to win. If you and I were on the phone last week on this call on, Sal Pal Fridays, 3 p.m. on your show, your great show, and I said to you, hey, Mike Gill, the Eagles are going to pick Matty Ice 3 times. What would you have said? You would have said, the Eagles are going to win the game.
Yeah, we all would pick W there. But one thing we keep talking about, it comes up a lot, Carson Wentz in this offense starts slow, NFL low, 41 points. Peterson said it. I got to find the magical plays. What's your hypothesis as to why the slow starts? Is it a legit concern?
It's a legit concern, and here's my hypothesis / film study conclusion. I just don't think that the team is offensively game planning properly. I don't think that they are just quote-unquote ready, and that falls on the coach. And I think Peterson would readily agree with that. I think that they need to do a better job of coming out the gate. And they were not prepared for the energy and activity of the defensive front of the Falcons last week. They got steamrolled in the first 2 quarters. They got punched in the mouth. They got punched in the mouth, Mike Gill. You go back and look at the tape.
Yeah, it was a physical game, I'll tell you. It was like a game in the 90s watching that game. Guys,
and you know why?
Because
the Falcons had their back against the wall. They had to win the game, and they got a talking to, I'm sure. And I'm sure around the locker room in Atlanta, they were like, hey, not for nothing, but we got to show up.
All right, Sal Pal's key to the game and pick is this week. What are you looking at as the key and your pick?
Well, to me, the key is they have to generate some running game. It sounds like such a cliche. Oh, there we go. Balance on offense. You sound like Roger Jaworski, blah, 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 blah. But, they got to get a running game and stick to it. And I assume that they're going to, go heavy, and they're going to run the football. They're going to be creative with it. I want to see some jet sweeps. I want to see some reverses. I'm not talking about screens. I'm talking about running the football. I want to see more RPOs where Carson hands the ball off. I want to see them dominate the line of scrimmage and gain some yardage through the running game. Take some pressure off Carson Wentz so that they'll do a better job of protecting him because he's taking too many hits, Mike.
Absolutely.
Did you see the numbers on the hits on Carson Wentz? So the top two quarterbacks in terms of being contacted the first 3 weeks are Marcus Mariota and
got to be Watson.
Jackson.
Oh, okay.
Watson
I was
is
going to say
3.
Okay.
It's Marcus Mariota. it's Lamar Jackson, and it's Deshaun Watson. All of them are mobile quarterbacks. They run a lot. Carson's not supposed to be running, and Carson is tied with Deshaun Watson for number 3. It's too many.
All right. Sal, so who wins on Sunday?
Mike, I think the Eagles are going to win the game 24-16.
24-16. Eagles pregame starts at Dunkin'. DD Perks members score a $1 medium hot or iced coffee on Eagle game day. So head to Dunkin' for your kick before kickoff. Eagle fans run on Dunkin'. Sal Pal runs on Dunkin', and he's a part of Sal Pal Fridays thanks to Dunkin' Donuts. Sal, it's always a pleasure, my friend.
All right, Michael. Thank you.